That shit was rigged. Like, the Indiana Fever fought so hard, but like, they literally had 8 injured players. They had 8 injured players, and Aaliyah Boston fouled out for phantom fouls, and they still got to overtime. Like, you can't deny that. Like, you can't, like, the Indiana, they did everything in their power to try to rig that game in regulation. And
what you just saw, that's pure, unfiltered emotion from a fan base that feels robbed. Like, they didn't just lose a game, they witnessed a crime. But what if I told you this story isn't just about missed calls, phantom fouls, or the brutal end to the Indiana Fever's miracle run? The real story played out off the court, that it's about the moment an injured Caitlin Clark, watching the chaos unfold from the bench, saw the fire in her coach's eyes and made a choice. A choice to break her silence, to ditch the typical superstar script, to publicly take a stand alongside her coach in a brewing war with the league office. For weeks, the conversation has focused on a stolen game. But today, we're going deeper. We're connecting the dots to something far bigger, because it was Coach Stephanie White's off-the-record outrage over the officiating that lit the fuse. And Caitlin Clark's decision to speak out? That was her first real power move as the emerging face of the WNBA. This wasn't just a loss. It was the start of a new alliance, one that could reshape the future of the league, that we're a community built for stories like this, the ones buried beneath the surface. If you value that kind of narrative investigation, hit the like button. It's a simple gesture, but it tells us we're doing something right. Now, let's get into it.to understand why Clark felt compelled to act. You need to understand the chaos her team endured in Game 5 of the WNBA semifinals. This wasn't just a hard-fought loss. It was death by 1,000 cuts. The Indiana Fever, a scrappy 6 seed that shocked everyone just by making it this far, were fighting for their season against the reigning champs, the Las Vegas Aces. But from the very first tip-off, it felt like they were battling the referees too. Throughout the series, a troubling narrative had started to form, one driven by a glaring free throw imbalance that overwhelmingly favored the Aces. Fans and analysts alike saw a pattern, calls that seemed to kill the Fever's momentum at every turn, but Game 5 was different. That pattern didn't just continue, it exploded. First, there was the relentless punishment of Kelsey Mitchell, the Fever's star guard. She was hammered on drives and bodied on cuts, and by the third quarter, her body gave out. Severe cramping forced her out of the game, taking away one of Indiana's most crucial offensive weapons. Then came the moment that broke the game and the fan base. With just 26 seconds left in regulation, the game tied, and the season hanging in the balance, Aaliyah Boston, Indiana's all-star center, was hit with a loose ball foul. A call that will live in infamy for Fever fans, her 6th foul. Just like that, Aaliyah Boston was out of the game. Coach Stephanie White immediately challenged the call, hoping the officials would recognize what looked like a clean, textbook play. But the call stood. Boston was done for the night, and with her gone, so too were the Fever's hopes in overtime. That final whistle wasn't just for a foul. It was a statement that IT capped off a game and an entire series where the Indiana Fever seemed to be battling more than just the opposing team. It felt like they were up against something invisible, something unspoken. Publicly, the organization struck a tone of pride and professionalism. In her post-game comments, Coach White applauded her team's heart, character, and resilience in the face of relentless adversity. It was the kind of composed, polished message you'd expect from a leader, measured, diplomatic, and protective of her players. But behind the scenes, a different story was taking shape. In the hours following the game, reports began to surface. Media outlets and commentary packages hinted at a far more emotional and damning response from Coach White once the cameras were off. According to multiple sources, she described the officiating trend across the series with a single loaded word. Egregious. Let's stop right there. As narrative analysts, we understand that language matters. Egregious isn't a word you throw around casually. It doesn't mean questionable or unfortunate. It means shockingly bad, blatant, even malicious. It implies a level of bias or incompetence that undermines the integrity of the game. Oh, this wasn't just a coach venting about a few borderline calls. This was an accusation. A declaration that what her team endured wasn't just tough luck, it was fundamentally wrong. And that raises an important question. Should a coach speak out when they believe officiating crosses the line? Or should those battles always happen behind closed doors? Because make no mistake, Coach White's reported remarks were a major risk in a league that values unity and restraint from its leaders. She was drawing a line in the sand. Her message was loud and clear, not just to the media or the league office, but to her own locker room. I've got your back. I will not stay silent while my players are treated like this. And you can bet that message landed hardest with the one person whose voice now carries more weight than anyone else in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark. And remember, Clark wasn't watching this from afar, nursing her injury somewhere off-site. She was there, courtside, watching, processing. She was right there on the sidelines. Watching the chaos unfold in real time, Caitlin Clark saw everything. She saw Kelsey Mitchell, one of her closest backcourt allies, battered until her body gave out. She saw Aaliyah Boston, her all-star center, disqualified at the most pivotal moment of the season on a phantom foul. This wasn't some distant, abstract frustration for her. It was personal. Clark watched as the very foundation of the team she's expected to lead to a championship was slowly and systematically unraveled. And then she saw her coach draw a line in the sand. The only question left was, would the league's brightest star choose to cross it now? For any other superstar, especially in a league as tightly controlled as the WNBA, the next move would have been by the book. Stay quiet. Post a safe, media-trained message on social media. Something about being proud of the team's effort, staying focused on recovery, and looking ahead to next season. Let the front office deal with the fallout. Don't touch the controversy. That's the safe play. The easy play. But Caitlin Clark isn't just another superstar, and she didn't take the easy way out. When her response came, it wasn't a press conference or a dramatic social media post. It was something quieter, more calculated, a surgical strike, executed the way modern power players make their moves. Maybe it was a strategically liked tweet from a journalist defending Coach White's outrage. Maybe it was a carefully chosen quote shared with a trusted insider, subtly reinforcing her coach's point. The exact method doesn't matter. What matters is the message, and it was crystal clear. I stand with my coach. What she called egregious, I call the truth. And just like that, the entire dynamic shifted. This was no longer a lone head coach venting about officiating. This was now a united front, publicly, if subtly, endorsed by the most powerful player in the league. Some in the mainstream sports media missed the nuance. They didn't see the shift, but for those of us trained to read between the lines, narrative analysts, it was a checkmate. Clark's move gave Stephanie White's controversial claim the one thing the league couldn't ignore: superstar credibility, and no longer could the league brush it off as frustration or sour grapes. Not when the face of the WNBA had co-signed it, even if indirectly. Now imagine what that message did inside the Indiana Fever locker room. Picture yourself in Aaliyah Boston's shoes. Or Kelsey Mitchell's. You've just gone through one of the most brutal postseason exits imaginable. You're hurt. You're angry. You're questioning everything. And then your superstar, the one with all the cameras and headlines, uses her voice, her influence, to back you up. That's not just leadership. That's loyalty and power. You just went through a physical and emotional war. You left everything on the floor, only to have the game ripped away by forces you couldn't control. And then your franchise player, the one the entire future of your team is built around, steps up and publicly goes to war for you. That's how dynasties begin. Not with talent alone, but with trust, loyalty, unity. But make no mistake, this move wasn't just about team chemistry. This was the opening shot in a much bigger battle. The long war over the WNBA's next collective bargaining agreement. Caitlin Clark and her camp aren't just reacting. They're playing chess. And with this move, they've just put the league in a corner. This controversial loss. The egregious officiating. And now Clark's public alignment with her coach. It all becomes Exhibit A in the case for change that it's the perfect setup to demand sweeping protections in the next CBA. Call it the Caitlin Clark Clause, a future set of rules and enforcement mechanisms designed to ensure the league's most valuable players can't be neutralized by questionable officiating or unchecked physicality. Clark didn't just defend her coach. She handed her agent a strategic weapon. And now the WNBA and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert are in a no-win scenario. Our analysis shows the league was already aware of the growing discontent. Engelbert had acknowledged the rising scrutiny around officiating even before the finals tipped off. She knew a storm was coming, but she didn't see this coming. A united front between one of the league's most respected coaches and the global superstar, who is the future of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's decision to take a stand turned a slow-burning issue into a five-alarm fire.so when you strip away the noise. The picture becomes crystal clear. Game 5 wasn't just a heartbreaking loss for the Indiana. Fever.it was the moment everything changed. A brutal ending triggered a coach's defiant claim of egregious officiating. That claim then compelled the league's most powerful player to break her silence. Backing Stephanie White. Caitlin Clark didn't just defend her team. She reframed the debate. She turned a single controversy into a league-defining standoff about player protection, accountability, and the integrity of the sport itself. So now, we want to hear from you. Was this a leader move? A necessary stand from a rising icon, or a risky play? A step too far into league politics for a young superstar? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And know this, the battle for the future of the WNBA is just beginning. We'll be tracking every twist and turn leading up to the new CBA. If you want to stay ahead of the narrative, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss a beat. And if you know someone who saw the bad calls but missed the political chess match playing out behind the scenes, share this video. Every true narrative analyst deserves to be in on the real conversation.